everyone. This is Julia with Senior Susie Stamps. I'm glad you're with me today. I have a crafty challenge going on over on the Facebook page for June, and we're making tags. Some of the folks that follow the channel haven't made tags yet, so today I thought I would just make a simple, fun tag, and it coincidentally happens that a friend sent me this wonderful mulberry paper that has a lot of interesting texture to it. So I thought we would use that, and with that thought in mind, I went to my color cube and pulled out some color swatches that had the mulberry color in them. Now there's something interesting about this, and I'm not sure it will show up on the camera, but I will try to show it to you. This is the mulberry color here, and you'll notice that if you line them up, I'm not sure you can see it, but if you line them up, none of them are the same color. And here's the reason why. It's because even though they say mulberry, every one of them says mulberry, but you'll notice it's a different color number on each one of these. And the only reason I bring that up is just to mention that those colors all go well with this color of mulberry. And so you can use the color spectrum that you get, the ideas that you get from these cards for color combination, even though the color is not exactly the same throughout. So that's why I brought that up. Now I've gone ahead and pulled out some inks because I wanted to do a little ink work today. I have been trying to go through my scraps and get some of them used up. I found some really light gray colored paper, and I think that's what we'll use today, just as the base of this card. The base of this tag. Let me show you some examples of what I've done first. And here's one. Now you can see on this one, when I make tags, I make them for a lot of different reasons. Some of them I make them for package identifiers, and those I don't mind putting a lot of dimension on, but these I wanted to make for bookmarks or for card focals, and so I wanted them to stay fairly flat, and you'll see there's no dimension, there's no foam tape or any kind of dimension on these at all. I used the inks that we're going to show in just a minute, and some foiled Fancies that I got from paperwishes.com. This also has a little bit of gold pen work, and I'm not sure that you can see it, but you see I've outlined some of the spatter here in gold, and then I also went back with some gold glitter glue, and I just buy cheap glitter glue. I don't even know, this probably came from the Dollar Tree, and I just went back and added a little bit around the edge just for a little extra something on this card. Now this ribbon originally started out as being a light pink, and I used a burgundy colored alcohol marker and just went over top of it with the alcohol marker, and this is just some cord twine that I happen to have on hand. And here's another one, and I used the same ink colors, and you'll see that I've got a little gold pen in the centers of the flowers, and then I've gone back in with my alcohol marker and done a little bit of pen work on each of the flowers and on the little bees and the leaf work there, but the rest of it is basically just the ink work that we're going to look at today. I had a little extra piece, I put it on the back. I made my own reinforcers. I have a little punch. Hang on, let me pull it. It's this one, and I don't see a brand on it. It's hard telling where I found it, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, I found this at Hobby Lobby one day. It says 1 inch plus. That's all I see on it. But if you ever have the opportunity to find one of these, they're great for little tag reinforcers. They are a little fragile. I don't know how else to say it than that, but I can see where this part of that punch would snap off pretty well because it's a double punch through the material. You have to be kind of careful how heavy weight you use with a punch like this. So on the back, I just used up a little strip of paper that I had cut off, and I put a dark brown edge around it. I did a little detail cut just to add a little extra interest on that one. Now this was on white paper, and this one was on the gray base, and I did both sides of it. This is a single layer paper, and I added a little extra piece of gray to the back just to write a note on, and it helps with the structure of the tag itself. But this one I put through the Xyron and doubled up because of course there was ink spatter and stuff on the back of that card, and I wanted to have kind of a plain white back on this one. So let's get started. I think I'm going to use a few stamps today. I'm not sure about that yet. I have some old sheet music. Someday I should pull that sheet music out, that pile out, and show it to you because it's really got some fabulous artwork on it. These old sheet music bulletins have got some fabulous old vintage artwork on them. We may use the Xyron, I'm not sure. Certainly wouldn't have to. I've got some twine that's in a neutral color. I have my Teflon bone folder and my gold pen and some scissors. Now I have a crocodile corner chomper. You do not need this at all. In fact, lots of times I don't use it on tags. We may use it today, and we may just use scissors. I also have some heavy acrylic blocks that I'm going to use to weight the paper down after we add the ink to. These are the ink colors that I chose, and let's look at those. So I pulled the rich raspberry, pumpkin pie. Let's see, this is Poppy Parade, Summer Sun, and Gumball Green. And I thought that those did a nice mix that went along with the color cube suggestions. So I think that's what we use today. Let me get set up and I'll be right back. I'm going to use my Teflon pad today. I don't remember for sure, but I believe I got this from paperwishes.com. I've had it for years. It has kind of a little tacky back on it, so once it unrolls and kind of straightens out, it'll calm down there. So I'm just going to take some of this ink and smush a little bit down. Don't need much at all. And then we're going to add just a little sprit of water to that area just to kind of play with the ink some. I hope you can see that little ink sampling that I'm putting down. I think you can with the darker colors, maybe not with that Summer Sun. Now somewhere on this desk here, I see it, I have a sandwich bag. What I've done with it is I've put a little air in it just so that I can have a little something to play with here. So I'm going to spritz this just a little bit with a little water, and then I'm going to take my little bag that's filled with air. You could have put a paper towel in it. At the moment I couldn't find one, so this is what we're doing today. And I'm just gonna push some ink onto this paper until I end up with a result that I kind of like. And then we'll figure out which part we like the best and make our tag with that. And there's one. I'm going to do two, and I think I may glue them together because I want this tag to be just a little bit heavier weight than that other one that I made. Now I've picked up a lot of ink off of this Teflon pad, but there's still a lot of ink on there. So I'm going to let this dry and then come back, and we're going to use up this ink here. But here are the two pages that we're going to use as a starting point. Now I've cut these down to 3 3/4 by 5, and I've got some little extra strips here that I'm just going to save and play with later. But what I would like to do now is to glue these two together. So when I use tape runner instead of Xyron, you can see the amount of tape that I put on, and I'm just going to put these two pieces together. And now we have a double-sided tag that has the same pattern on both sides, and I'm going to go ahead and do my corners. Now if you were doing them with scissors instead of a corner chomper, here's a great way to do it. Just do your one side that you like, and then turn your little corner, your little dog ear over, and cut your other side to match it, and that way your tag is the same on both sides. And you may not care. If you don't, that's okay. There's no reason to have them be the same necessarily. I just happen to like them the same. It's just me. So I'm going to put just a tiny bit more water on here, and I'm going to go back and just do a little more ink pickup on both of these sides, just to kind of help with a little more color around the perimeter. And just add a little more interest in the color combination that we're seeing here. And then I'm going to take and drag my edges through so that the edges are colored also. I'm not worrying about whether or not it's muddy in the color. It doesn't bother me at this point, because I may very well go back with a brown or black pen and do the outside anyway. I just want to get a little extra around the outside here. There. So that's enough. Now, when I do a piece like this and get my paper kind of damp, what I usually like to do, let me get this out of the road, is put it down, and that's what these two heavy-duty acrylic blocks come in handy for. I just put them on top of it, and that helps it to dry flat, and I'm going to move that kind of out of the way for a minute. Let's start working on the elements that we need for this tag. I'm going to clean my ruler off over here. I've got a dry baby wipe that I used probably once, so I'm going to spray it back down with some water and wipe that stuff off. Get my surface kind of cleaned up a little bit so I don't get it all over me, as you know I well can do. So now I think what I would like to do, this has a torn edge on one side, and I'm going to try to tear the other sides so that it's kind of in a rectangular shape a little bit, and you can see how much texture there is in this mulberry paper. It's really an interesting paper. My friend Cindy sent me some, and I really appreciate it. Let's see if we can get this little piece here. There we go. And maybe a little piece off of here so that all the edges are torn then. One thing that I might add to this is a little bit of cheesecloth. Let me see if I can find some. Hang on a minute. This is the cheesecloth that I've got, and I believe I got this from Amazon if I'm not mistaken. And what I look for is really kind of loose weave cheesecloth. It comes in several different weights. I don't see a weight on this one, but at any rate, if I can find this one again, I'll leave a link to it, because it really is a nice weight for just doing little snippy pieces of cheesecloth. And I don't worry about how it's being cut, because I'm going to kind of unshape it anyway. And I want all this little salvage edge off so that it gives us as much fray as it can. And then what I'm probably going to do is just kind of take it in my fingers and kind of pull that square weave around where it's no longer a square piece of fabric then. Okay, let's see. I want to do a little stamping on these. Let me see if they're dry enough now or not. They're still just a little bit damp, but I think this side might be okay. I'm going to get a piece of scratch paper. I keep some up here in the front of my desk in my little flat white trays that are up there. I did a video on my desk front probably it's been a couple years ago now, and it didn't change really when I moved to Georgia, because it's such a workable situation for me to have everything right there at hand. On this stamp, I just got it a couple of weeks ago really from a used stamp vendor that I use frequently on eBay. It's a Hero Arts stamp, and it's called Manuscript Background. So what I want to do with this is just ink it and stamp around a little bit. And I believe I'm going to use rich cocoa to do that. And when I'm putting the ink on, I'm just kind of tapping around in kind of a C shape, if you will, so that when I stamp it, I don't have a hard line here. There. So that gave us a little bit of interest, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And all we're doing is just adding a little more texture that's probably going to be covered up anyway. And that's okay. It just adds a lot to the background. Alright, so there we go. That's done. And I have a dragonfly stamp. See, on this other one, I used this other Hero Arts set that is texture and shape, and this is another used set that I got from eBay, but I used this one and that one on this other one, but I'm going to switch off to the dragonfly on this one and just come in different little areas of the tag. Coming in from different directions so that none of it looks the same that way. And I'm going to do both sides. I learned something interesting about dragonflies the other day, and that is that they can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes a day. So bravo, dragonflies. And I'm doing some research to see if there are any plants that might entice more dragonflies to come into your yard, because good night, we've got the mosquitoes here. Alright, so I think that's plenty now. That gives a nice little look to that tag front. Not much difference between tags and cards, really. It's just how you use them. Now, if I were doing something for a package, I might really glam this up a lot more, but in this particular instance, I just don't really feel like I want to do that. I want to put this piece on. Let me see which one I want to have for the back and which one I want to have for the front. I like this little orange in here. I'm going to use some Books by Hand PVA glue for this and just put it down like I would any other piece of paper. And I'm going to put it over here on this side with my tweezers. Even border here, even border there, and not worry about the top. That's all I'm doing. And this glue does kind of come through that paper a little bit, but it eventually more or less kind of goes away. And that's about all I can say about that. So I'm just going to scribble some glue on here for the cheesecloth. I'm going to put my heavier weight on there and let it smush down, and then I'll clean the back of my acrylic block there, and that should do just fine that way. Let me get a little water on this while it's still damp. There we go. And now let's see if we can find some kind of a little focal point. And I think I will go back to these. These came from Paper Wishes, and I've had these sets for 8, 9, 10 years now, but I believe they still sell foiled Fancies, if I'm not mistaken. So I picked out a couple that I thought would be kind of fun. I was going to use this dressmaker's form and a couple of angel wings, but it won't fit on this size tag, so I'll have to do that another time. These come with a little tab on them, and you cut them apart. And so I think I'll maybe use some music notes on this one. I think that'll be fun. And I usually cut them off before I cut the tabs off, because it's hard to get your scissors in when they're all in a group like that. But then I'll just do a little cut like that. I'll take my fingernail and kind of rub that to where you don't see the cut as much anymore, and that way it kind of blends in some. Like over here on this one, I cut it to the best of my ability, but you can still see there's a little nib there, and then I just take my finger and kind of blend it in a little bit more there. Let's see, I'm not sure I need this big one. I'm going to put a little strip of sheet music on this tag, and I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to tear some. I'm not paying too terribly much attention to how long it is, but I just want the music. I don't want the words on it, because when you cut something like this up, they just don't make any sense at all to have the lyrics on them. So now I think maybe it's a little too long, isn't it? And you can see how interesting these tags can become if you just kind of use your imagination and use a few of your supply. You need to get used up anyway. Now I'm going to glue this down fairly heavily, because it has to go through that cheesecloth and then hang on to that mulberry paper to the best of its ability. And here we are. There. Now I'm going to put my little weight back on top of that for just a minute and let it calm down some. And then I think I'll add a little gold onto this card, because this gold is really kind of bright and flashy, which is wonderful for what it is, but the the tag itself is kind of muted back, so I want to bring that muted back tone up a little bit, and I'm not sure actually on this pattern. I'm thinking gold glitter glue may be the way to go on here, and I'll do that last. So this one we're going to just glue it down, but I'm going to have to put a lot of glue on it to get it to stick on all these different textures. And I'm just going to angle this until it fits on the tag. I'm going to put these other three down on there just as well. On the back of this tag, the person I'm going to send it to is a dear friend of mine. I believe I'm going to write a little note that says, "Your friendship is the music to my heart." So that's what's going on the back of this little tag. Now, before we go any further, let's punch our hole. I'm just going to line this up on my grid mat. Here and here the same, and then mark a little punch spot. And because this is double layered, I'm not going to worry about doing a reinforcer. If it were single layer, I would definitely be doing a reinforcer on this. So on the back now, I want to get another piece of gray paper. So now the question is, do we want to cut these little corners off? And I think it will look better, and I'm going to simulate this same angle by slipping this up underneath of it and then moving it over as far as I want to, and using my Cutter-Bee scissors to cut that tab off of there. And then I'm going to use this one just like we did before and turn it up in the corner and hold it and cut the second dog ear off. There we are. Now this is at the same angle as that one is, and it will look alright on this little tag after we glue it on. I want to do a little bit around the edge here, and I believe I am going to get a brown pen and do the edge of this tag. I decided in the move that I wasn't going to unbox my massive marker collection, and I had these Beyond markers left from when I used to teach card making classes. I didn't want to get my Copics and Spectrum Noirs out because sometimes people forget to put the caps on them. So this is what I have decided to pull out and use in the studio this year, and they work just fine for the amount of coloring that I will need to do until we get to the final studio spot. Okay, and I'm going to do both sides just for cohesiveness, and that really brings out the little brown dragonfly on these. I'm going to edge this piece as well, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this and put it on the back. I am putting a little heavier glue on here than you normally see me because I anticipate that this one will be used as a bookmark, so it'll kind of be in and out and in and out and in and out. There we are. Now that looks just fine, and I can do my little handwritten note on that. I think I'm going to use my little gold pen back here and kind of outline just a little bit, and you may not be seeing very much of this gold. Oh, by the way, this is a Uniball gold pen. They work fabulously. You know, I kind of trashed out my Uniball white pen the other day, and but these gold pens are the bomb. Now I'm telling you that I've had this one for a long time, and it just keeps on writing. I don't know why they can't do the same thing with the white ink, but this gold one works perfectly well every time I pick it up. So I'm just going back around some of these little ink spots in here just to raise the gold up just a little bit on the back side, because we're going to add some gold glitter on the front in just a minute after we get everything kind of finished up on the back. There we are. Now we're getting a little bit of gold onto the back of this piece. There we are. That looks really good. I want to add just a little bit. So you can't really add gems and stuff to these because, and I don't know if you can even see that or not. I don't see it in the camera, but trust me, it's there, and it shows up really, really well, like the little gold vein on these things. Let's add a little bit to this side as well, and it kind of gives a reason for the gold glitter to be there then, just as a little additional gold note to this piece. Otherwise the gold glitter would kind of look a little out of place, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't take a lot on these kinds of things at all. There. I think I'll just do a really simple little pull through that will give my friend an opportunity to see where her bookmark is in her book that she's looking at. And what I want to do then is to push the little fold through from the front to the back. Let's see if we can get that done. There we are. And then I'll open my little loop and pull my tails through it. Yep, I'm thinking that's nice. And then you see how nice and flat this goes, and it'll mail very, very well. I think I'm just going to put a little bit of a angle cut on these so that they're not any of them the same length particularly, and not worry too much about that. So now let me show you about putting this little bit of glitter glue on, because then we're going to have to set it down. I'm just going to put some in places that I kind of want it to be, maybe along the edge here, over here. It doesn't have to be any particular spot. I just want to have just a little bit of glitter there. And then I'm going to take this Stampin' Up! Acrylic block that has the curved edge, and I'm just going to drag it through that glitter that spreads it nicely for me, and that way it softens out that actual glue look to it, and the glitter just kind of becomes a little bit more organic that way, I think. There. Oh, well, that's going to be really pretty when it dries, I think. And that gives you the shine and the glitter without the gems and the dimension. And then I'm just going to waste a little bit more glitter on here on the back that just kind of pulls the front into the back a little bit. And then I'll have to find a place to put it where it can kind of stand up a little bit. There we are. There. Take a picture of this so that you can see it at the end, because I don't want to set it down right now. But here's the other two tags that I made earlier. And I hope this encourages you to make some tags every once in a while that are a little bit different than just Christmas tags, and it'll open another horizon for tags perhaps for you. So here are all three. This one's wet. I got to figure out what to do with it now. I'm going to set it up on a wood block. Leave it alone, Julia. We'll see if I can do that or not. Okay, I'm going to go clean my hands, and y'all have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.